Some good old Donnie content. Definitely the best one out of the main cast. The most interesting, I would say, out of everybody so far, at least in terms of their own adventure. Because with Percival, it's obviously set on like some of the mysteries around him in general, but I'd say more on him just trying to figure out obviously the prophecy and whatnot. He hasn't gotten entirely there yet, but I'm willing to bet that Percival's like whole setup is gonna really kind of unravel the further we kind of get to finding out more about the other Knights of the Apocalypse. His is a little bit odd because he isn't trying entirely to find that, but it's just something that clearly he's going to be going right now because like he's a little bit of a mystery just based off of some of the wording that we got about Varghese and Ironsides about like, oh, you took the one thing from me and like all that, everything around Percival's like upbringing and everything. Well, maybe not upbringing, creation, and maybe like around his origin. It's just a little bit off. Nazians is cool. I don't think that he has anything really, at least right now, in terms for his character that is like a really cool kind of like an upscaling set for his journey. Right now, he's in like a really neat point because we know his backstory, we know what he's capable of for the most part. We're just kind of like seeing him kind of like actually take action during the events. We're seeing way more of that than anything else. We just got Annie. Annie's got her whole goal of being a holy knight and stuff. Whereas Donnie, we know Donnie is a not disgrace, sort of like a little bit, obviously quitting and running away. I'll say disgrace lightly. Member of like a holy knight in training. We know that he ended up going to the whole like traveling act. He was like a petty thief, and the whole bit where Percival's like saying even if he runs away, he's gonna come back. And that's one of the things I really liked about this chapter because it is true. We saw that before. Donnie will get scared and then run off, but you can tell when he starts thinking about like the scenario everyone's in and like where he's at that he's not like his cowardice will kind of like take hold of him, but he'll come back because he knows what he needs. Like he understands what he should be doing, and he can't leave his friends and everybody like alone to potentially be in danger, and he wants to do everything he can do. I'm always a fan of when characters, even if they like characters who aren't able to kind of like put out the same level of standard that like all the characters around them, at least for the most part, but they're doing everything they can in order to be beneficial. They're always doing what they can do in order to provide some form of use in the scenario that they're in. And because it's a very admirable trait to have. Because like even if you have somebody who's like not a fighter whatsoever, if they can provide that one useful thing is something that they didn't have before. Or even if it's like, oh, he had one healer before, now we have two. It's like, okay, cool. Or it's like, oh, we have a second ranged person that can do X, Y, or Z. Like it's always something that you can add to the team to give a like a bonus. Like as long as they're able to provide that small amount of extra kind of component to everything that's like to whatever they're trying to work with, it's a plus, at least in my book, to their characters. But like he's like obviously afraid there's this rampaging dragon just doing its thing of being a rampaging dragon. And the part in the chapter that was really like on the back burner interesting was the whole baby dragon and how like it's been down there, it's like tired and not well kept enough, and like Nonsense is saying how it's only got maybe 3 days until it ends up like 3 days pretty much left to live at and in like the current state, because Taizo ends up bringing him down there. And I'm guessing that Adlin was like kind of like, hey, can I keep this dude down here like as the trade-off? But it's like you have this dragon separated, like this baby dragon separated from its mom. You're like keeping it in the dark, probably feeding it like scraps and stuff that it's like not actually what it needs. It's not getting whatever nutrition it's gonna need for like a hatchling dragon. And like I've seen Jurassic Park. I know that they haven't, but what they need to do is just bring that dragon up there, kind of calm her down, and be like, hey, just your egg hatched. Take your baby. Leave us alone, please. We're sorry. Let's just call it good. I'm sure that the dragon would be somewhat at least alright enough to kind of just be like, fine, whatever. Because like the dragon did speak to Edlin at one point, like in whatever its draconic language is. We saw like little speech bubbles with the wording in there. So it's clearly some form of, like it's intelligent enough that it's got some form of way of conversation and speech. But During this whole thing, we're just going to kind of getting Nostians being like trying to help him, trying to see what he can do. That whole bit is pretty much going to be now built on a timer. Can Nostians get them all fixed up before like shit gets too crazy? We did get a little flashback actually though with like a younger kid, Donnie, and Howitzer, and he's like saying how, oh, you know, why are you afraid? Why do I need to be a holy knight and stuff? He's like, Donnie's pretty much just said, you know, I really don't want to die. He's just very out there. He's like, I don't want to end up going to battle and dying. Like he's just a bit cowardly, but he's not in a way that is unsalvageable. He even brings up the chapter that he may be afraid, but he doesn't want to abandon anybody, and he even says that he wants to go back to being a holy knight because now he has friends that he keeps running into that are willing to risk their lives for him. You can tell to him he's not like, oh yeah, they can save me, but like whatever, as long as I'm good. He's like, yeah, I'm not willing to abandon them if they're not willing to abandon me, sort of thing. You can tell Donnie just has a really good head on his shoulders. He's got a good heart. He's just obviously, like I said, he's in a spot where he just isn't. He's not up to level in the scenarios he's at. Just think of just being in this kind of whole setup. He's got like a very low level of fighting capability. We don't know what he's going to be like in the end game, but we know where he's at now, and he's literally in this chapter around a rampaging dragon who's just spitting fire and like completely demolishing everything like within her path. So I can understand his upset there, but at the same time he came back to help Edlin and helps try and save him. There was again a further point of of Percival like throwing the dragon dagger handle and saying like, you know, give it to Donnie when you see him next. So if the dragon handle can go to him and stay with him, I really want to know what Nakaba has planned for the usage of that weapon on Donnie. But also more of seeing not like Chibi Percival. It's more like the big energy construct Percival around him, absorbing an attack and spitting it back out. I really want to get to a point where we see the limitations of that, because it's really cool when you see powers like this obviously in use, but I'm never a fan when it seems like the power has like no form of limitations. It definitely has a limitation, but I want us to get to a point where like he tries to do it to a character and a character just says nope and says sorry about that. Like, you can do stuff, but you can only do so much. It just that way Percival doesn't seem like invincible. Like we know that like he wasn't gonna be able to beat a serious Ironsides, but I really want us to get to a point where like we actually see Percival in like a 1-for-1 fight. Because we've only ever really seen him in Fight 3's dominated, or he was being dominated. I would really want to get to a point where he is at a 1-for-1 face-off. We didn't really get that in reality for like a lot of Seven Deadly Sins, because like in the whole first part, we were only getting like seeing some parts of Meliodas, and then anytime he was actually getting serious, he was just dominating everybody around him, because like he started out, even in his weakened state, above most other people. Whereas Percival has that high level of power and obviously like the unfairness of hero type magic, but he is inexperienced, and obviously like he's not just inexperienced in fighting, he's inexperienced in life, and he's just completely oblivious to a lot of things, very gullible. So like a lot of people could easily trick him, and obviously like his lack of fighting capabilities and fighting experience can really end up screwing him over in a lot of scenarios. But we do see him spit the fire back at the dragon, and it did nothing to her. She just seems completely unscathed. I don't think this is going to be a fight where they beat the dragon. I think this is going to be a fight where they just kind of hold it off for Nostians to get like the baby dragon back into good shape. Because like if they just beat the dragon, like that to me at least is going to be a little bit upsetting, because like this is a pretty like badass looking dragon. It's pretty much a T-Rex dragon. You know, I know a lot of people bring that up as the T-Rex with wings, but it's a sick design. And I want to get to a point where, again, Percival doesn't seem invincible. Because, like, at the early parts of the chapter, I understand. We're at 29. We're still roughly early. We haven't gotten to the first real arc of this series. I'm hoping that's going to be maybe after this. And we'll see an actual, again, like a character that, like, Percival has to pretty much pull out all the stops in order to just get over and defeat. But the dragon, I feel like an ancient dragon, a fully grown ancient dragon, should be more than anything that Percival should be able to handle now. Obviously, later Percival, completely different story. But right now, still early, still like very inexperienced, doesn't have a grasp on a lot of what he can do in full. I think the dragon should be stronger, especially with the whole plot point in the back of like the baby dragon getting healed. I personally will like it much more if it's more of Percival and Crow doing whatever they can to buy Nostian's time to get the baby dragon healed up. But anyway, other than that though, comment below. It was a solid chapter. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I really enjoyed the stuff about Donnie and seeing Donnie's whole backstory and getting like aspects of his character and understanding his whole piece about like he doesn't want to die, but he's willing to put out the effort to and risk his life to help the people that are willing to help him, like his friends, because they're not just like random strangers. He's got an emotional connection obviously to them, so to him it's way different of a band like running away from random strangers trying to help him versus like his buddies. Like he's not going to be able to look them in the eye the same way if he ends up running away and they get like mortally hurt or something worse. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up to the video, for the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate it. Subscribe, and thank you all for listening. Bye.